couple of our representatives, and our visitor, Khanna, is going to come talk to us for a minute. But first, to kick things off, we're going to bring our esteemed chair, Lindsay Scott.
Hello, everybody. If you do not know, I am the chair of the Crawford Dems, with many random titles associated thereafter. We don't need to worry about that. But I am a veteran, I'm a mom, and I've lived here on and off my entire life. So everything that's happening here is important to me, and I know it's important to you. I would like to thank everybody who helped out to plan this very fast event, the City of Meadville, all of our city council members who are here, all the organizers who are here. We have Justin Wagner here, we have Sue Mulvey here, who's running for our state senate, which we need to flip 3 seats for the state majority. We have Mike Walker here, who is also running for PA 6. And Khanna, Congressional member Khanna, is here to talk to us about his economic patriotism tour, which in Meadville includes stuff like affordable housing, funding schools, and healthcare. So all of that is super important because, I will shut up very quickly, I promise. I just want to say, if you went to elementary school or you send your kids to elementary school, you've probably seen that the discussion is up for potentially closing down certain schools. That means fewer teachers, that means fewer middle-class jobs. We know that we elected our city council here as one of their main things they've done is to protect our renters. This city is 70% renter, and we want them to have safe and affordable housing. And we know we've got Meadville Medical Center, but with the big, frankly, bullshit bill, there will be cuts, and a lot of Western Pennsylvania hospitals are in danger of closing. And that's less jobs in healthcare also. There's no reason why our city of Meadville and our council and our razor-thin majority at the state level in the PA House needs to be handling this on our own. And for that, we need a majority in Congress to help our cities, our municipalities remain functional and make it so that people have jobs here later. So our tax base does not continue to dwindle, and our people who live here do not continue to experience a decline that's happened in the last 20 years. So with that, a twist to hopefully to the hopeful, I would like to introduce Justin Wagner, who's running for Congress against Mike Kelly for PA 16. And he will introduce Congressman Khanna.
I don't want to walk up those stairs.
All right, I got to turn it on. There we go. Can you hear me now? Yeah. All right. Well, hey, everybody. Thanks for being here this evening. What beautiful weather we have. Hopefully, the rain will hold off and we can hang out and have some great conversations today. This is a great turnout. This is fantastic to see this many people coming out for, a political thing. So that means a lot of people are perking up, listening, starting to organize, starting to get ready, which is what we need. We need people like you to stay involved and to be involved and get organized. Because that's how we do things around here. It's never just a one-man show. I've got people behind me. Mr. Khanna has tons of people behind him. Every politician you see has a team behind him who helps them do everything. And the most important people behind them are the people here in this audience. The people who are going to listen to us, the people who are going to agree with us or have conversations if even they don't agree with us. Because the job is to talk to everybody in the district. The job is to talk to everybody and see what their concerns are. And one of the things that we have a huge concern about right now is healthcare in this country. A lot of folks say that healthcare is broken. Healthcare is not broken. Healthcare was designed this exact way to extract as much money from us as possible. We can fix it. But to fix it, you're going to need people who believe in it, who believe we can fix it, who do the work. who go up there to Washington and fight for things like Medicare to negotiate drug prices for every drug and not just 5 or 6. We'll fight for people who take on the for-profit hospitals and the insurance companies and all these other companies that just steal and take again and again from us on the backs of our sickness. When you get sick, they do the calculus of whether they're going to deny you care. And the more people that get denied, the bigger their CEO paycheck is that year. That's wrong. And that's not the way America should work. America should take care of its people. Absolutely. Yes, we need votes for health care.
Healthcare for all PA. Yes.
Healthcare for all PA, universal healthcare. We're working towards it. It's not going to be an overnight switch, but it is something we can work towards. Bringing back the ACA subsidies so that 51,000 people don't die every year from preventable diseases. It's a floor, not a ceiling. So it's a start. But again, that's something we're going to talk about. The representative from California, Mr. Khanna, is here all the way from California. So I want to introduce him and have him come up, and he's going to probably be smarter than I am. But he'll be a good person for me to learn from. So Mr. Khanna, Representative Khanna from California.
What a great candidate in Justin. Meadville, you know how to turn out. They told me we were driving up, we were going across the state of Pennsylvania. You know, I was born in Bucks County, and I grew up right outside Philadelphia. I didn't know they clapped for people born in the east of the state and the west of the state. I once said to someone I grew up an Eagles fan, they said, you'd be better off telling them you rooted for the 49ers. So, but I appreciate being here, and I appreciate all of you turning out for our democracy and for our country. You know, I was speaking to Amanda, I hope she won't mind my mentioning her, and it reminded me of why I'm in this work and why we're all here. I mean, here she is, a nurse's assistant, doing hard work, doing what we ask, worked for years, and she can't afford, doesn't have insurance to pay for medicine, for blood thinners or for other things that she needs. She's got to go to Amazon to get the cheapest medicine, and it's not covered. Now, I don't understand that. I really don't understand that in the United States of America. I've moved out west, and I represent a district now, Silicon Valley. How many people have heard of that? You know, all the tech companies. You know how much money is in my district? $20 trillion in a 50-mile radius. $20 trillion. 1/3 of the nation's wealth is sitting in the West, in a single district. And I'm saying, what happened to the rest of this country? What happened to the rest of this country? Let me tell you what I know. We could tax those billionaires in my district. We could tax 900 of them to raise $4 trillion. 900 of them. I'm not talking about the 1%. I'm not talking about the 0.1%. I'm not talking about the 0.01%. I'm talking about the 0.001% that have $8 trillion of our economy. And if we tax them just 5%, who's for taxing these billionaires at 5% of their net worth? We could have free health care, Medicare for all, for every American from the day they're born. That should be a right, a privilege. How many people here have seen their health care premiums go up in the last year? You know, you have had a president with a Republican Congress that had $1 trillion of cuts to Medicaid, to pay for tax breaks to the billionaires I just talked about. Instead of taxing them at 5%, we gave them tax breaks. And when they cut Medicaid, that's why the health center here is facing a challenge. That's why you've got a health center that doesn't have the ability, basically scraping by. And that's why you've had not just people lose Medicaid coverage, that's why you've had other insurance companies have to raise their fees, because when hospitals lost the Medicaid reimbursement, they had to charge more from other health insurance companies, and those costs went up. And that's why everyone's healthcare premiums have gone up. The solution to that is to have a single-payer healthcare system, to have Medicare for all. The other thing, and then I want to open it up soon, but the other thing that drives me crazy is, why are we fighting a foreign war in Iran? I thought this president said no more wars. Then he went around the state. I want America first. I don't want to fight these wars. I said, okay, I agree. We shouldn't be fighting these wars. We should be putting that money here. There's no secret about why gas prices are up. I couldn't believe it. Driving across the state, diesel $6, gas over $4, grocery prices up because the farmers can't afford to get the ammonia and the nitrogen from the Strait of Hormuz. We need to end this war. No more foreign wars. I want America to be a friend to the world, and a nation that's fighting for freedom and liberty around the world, not getting into these conflicts. And I want that $60 billion, that we've been spending in Iran, I want that coming to schools so you don't have to close elementary schools in a place like Meadville, Pennsylvania. J.D. Vance has got a 14-point plan for Iran. I said, what about a 14-point plan for the United States of America? How about we start spending money here? We had a Marshall Plan for Europe. How about a Marshall Plan for America? I want the funding coming for schools across our country. I mean, think about it. If we funded the IDEA Act fully, which is for special needs and kids with disabilities, we wouldn't have to close the schools here. I mean, how short-sighted to be closing elementary schools when we know that education is the way up in the world in a 21st century economy. And we're producing more wealth than ever before. And we're closing schools in our district, in our country. If we funded and actually had the tax on billionaires and didn't have these wars, we could have free child care in this country. That's what we could do for $60 billion. The president actually said that. He said, well, I don't care about child care. I got a war to fight. Well, it would help Meadville, Pennsylvania, and a lot of Pennsylvanians a lot more if that money was going into schools and that money was going to child care. And how about jobs? How about having an industrial investment bank that says if you're making stuff here that we're currently importing, whether it's from China or Mexico or other parts of the world, if you're making it here, we're going to fund you. We're going to fund small and medium-sized manufacturers to make things in this country. I was at Vitro Glass. Do you know Vitro? Does anyone know Vitro Glass here? It's a glass manufacturer in Crawford County. I'm going there because I'm the top Democrat on the China committee. But there's a company, Fuyao, in Dayton, Ohio. They've got all these people who are being worked overtime without pay. Many of them came here not through the legal process, and they're undercutting Vitro Glass. I went on Fox News, I started saying about that. The president had a meltdown. He started attacking me on Truth Social. But I was just telling the truth. I was at Cleveland Port, and they had Chinese steel, and this Dayton, Ohio company, Fuyao, is undercutting Vitro Glass. He's not actually supporting American jobs. We need a real vision. I call it a new economic patriotism. An industrial investment bank that's going to fund manufacturers here. A tax of offshoring, tax these companies if they're going to close plants like Mack Truck is doing and putting it in Mexico. Tax them. And stop giving them a federal subsidy. Stop giving them federal contracts with your tax dollars if they're going to be closing plants. We have to have a real vision to rebuild this country. I saw it firsthand when the steel plant shut down in where I was growing up in Bucks. Fairless Works, it shut down in Lower Bucks. And it happened all across western Pennsylvania, Johnstown, which I've been many times, and in Lackawanna in the Northeast. We need to rebuild modern steel, rebuild shipbuilding, rebuild aluminum, rebuild our country. I believe that we've lost our way over the last 50 years, but I want to end with this point. Look, this country gave me everything. My grandfather was part of Gandhi's independence movement. He was in jail in the 1930s and in the 1940s, fighting for India's independence. And you know who helped India be free? Same person who defeated Nazism and tyranny, same person who lifted this country out of the Great Depression. It was FDR, who happened to be a Democrat. It was the women who industrialized America, Rosie the Riveter in the factories. But FDR also led the call for decolonization of the world that led to the freedom of India. That was FDR, along with Gandhi. And my parents came here as immigrants in the 1960s. I don't talk about it when I was at Penn State, but my dad went to Michigan. My mom was a teacher's assistant. And we grew up. I was born in Philadelphia, our bicentenary, 1976. My wife often says I had nothing to do with it, but it's a good fact for a politician. And I grew up middle class on a street with HVAC technicians, electricians, nurses. There was a doctor. We all played Little League. I couldn't hit for anything, but the coaches used to say, Rose still plays. They used to bat me ninth when I used to get up on the plate. They used to say, watch the bunt. But my point is, we grew up in this country. I was an Indian American kid, 99% white community, and I had teachers who believed in me, coaches who believed in me, neighbors who believed in me. And I grew up believing that anything was possible. And what did this country give me? I didn't have to worry about health care. I got to go to a good public school, elementary school, junior high school, high school. I had to take out too many loans for higher education, but I got to get a good education. And all I believe is that every kid in this country, every family in the country should have the chance that this country gave me and my family. I'm filled with gratitude. I'm filled with gratitude and love for this country. And here's what I know. I've seen the future. I've seen the future economy in Silicon Valley when I went out west. And it's only working for the tech billionaires. It's not working for the rest of us. But I have a plan and a vision to make sure that this future economy works for the people who I grew up with in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, works for Pennsylvanians, works for this entire country. And if we can take all this wealth we're producing and make sure every American has health care and child care, and we invest in our schools, and make sure that we reindustrialize this country and create good jobs, and make sure every place, whether it's Meadville or Bucks County or Johnstown or Ohio and Youngstown or Lordstown or Downriver, Michigan, every part of America, every family, every community is part of our economic success, then I believe we will heal the divides in this country and we will see a united America be a leader to the world again. That's why I'm going across Pennsylvania. This is where I learned what this country is capable of and what it's about. So I'm so grateful to you for being here, and I'm excited to have a conversation with everyone about where you think we need to go as a party and a country. And I'm looking forward to having that conversation now. Who's going to get us started? Yes, ma'am.
All right, it's a rough question, but it'll be a good first question.
All right. You want to get the mic?
Might as well.
All right, the seat of capitalism has always needed a poor class to kind of do the dirty work that no one else wants to do. Be that agricultural farmers, janitors, people cleaning up the streets, the people at the lowest rung who are not going to always go for education and might not want it. How are you going to dismantle what we perceive as dirty labor that no one wants to do, raise them up to a living wage so everybody can prosper?
That's just common sense. It's common sense. You know, here's what I say to folks. Most people don't want to become billionaires. How many people here want to become a billionaire? I don't know. I mean, there's some. Most people simply want that if they work hard, if they do the 40 hours of work, and they have a family, that they can have enough to be able to support their family, to be able to go watch their kids play soccer or baseball on the weekends, maybe to take one family vacation, to be able to take a family vacation and not have to have your mom or dad make the food to take with you, because you could actually afford to have a meal out when you go. And you can actually afford a vacation not to have a staycation. And maybe you can actually afford to buy a house and not have to be worried about going into debt if you have rent. That's all most Americans want. And their idea of success is not to show off the latest house or the latest bank account. It's to be part of community, and to whether it's to go to church or to be with the neighbors to celebrate. And we have a country where people are working hard. They're cleaning, they're helping take care of people in home care and elder care. They're working on a factory floor. They're doing everything asked of them. Sometimes working more than 40 hours, sometimes working 50 hours, 60 hours. And they can't afford still to be able to get a house and take care of their families and even do one vacation a year. That's what's wrong. That's why we have anger on the streets of this country. Frankly, that's why we got Donald Trump. People thought the whole system wasn't working. That's what happened. And the solution, here's the irony. We're making more wealth than ever before. So you get a job, you're working at Amazon. Amazon is the trillion-some-dollar company, and they can't pay you a living wage? Enough. Every company, every business needs to pay a living wage in this country, and a living wage should be by 2032, $25 an hour, where you can actually afford to be able to pay rent and be able to raise a family. They're saying, well, I don't know, how are we going to pay for it? How about the CEO stop and make $29 million a year instead of $30 million a year? Or the billionaires aren't worth, $8 trillion, they're worth $7 trillion. The point is not that we don't have the wealth. The wealth is in the hands of a very few. And what we need to do is make sure that everyone who's actually working gets a part of what they deserve. It's not charity. It's what they deserve. That should not be taken from them just to the shareholders and the capital class. And that's what part of this economic patriotism. We've got to support unions to bargain. By the way, why are workers not given stock? All the wealth, it's all been 20,000%. The stock market has gone up since 1985. And yet the only people benefiting from that are the CEOs and the few people who own a lot of the stock. Every worker should get part of the profits of a company, a part of what they work. So I totally agree with you that we need to raise the wage, raise unions, and give workers a share of the profits and share of ownership in their work. Yes, sir.
Three policies which rebuild the middle class in America. Which three policies you would prioritize?
3 policies to rebuild the middle class in America. What 3 policies would I prioritize? First, Medicare for all. If we had health care as a human right, that would rebuild the middle class. Second, we've got to tax these billionaires, because we got to get the money to be able to pay for the social programs. And third, we need, in my view, an economic development Marshall Plan for America, where we're investing in our schools, in our factories across America, into our projects, where we're setting up an economic renaissance for this country. Those would be the 3 things I do. I've got a long list beyond, but you asked me for 3, and those would be my 3 priorities. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned money for wars. No more money for wars, right?
No more foreign wars. I mean, look.
Okay, but does that include money for Israel?
So I don't know how many of you had heard of any of the work I've done before I got here. It won't offend me. So there are 2 things I did, and I'll talk about Palestine and Israel. But there was a guy, Thomas Massey, he's a Republican. Thomas Massey and I fought last year to get the Epstein files released.
Yeah.
So that we could get these rich and powerful people who abused our young girls, that they need to be prosecuted, they need to be in jail. Thomas and I, in a bipartisan basis, I worked with Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, we got the files released, 3 million files, but they have prosecutions across the world, former princes, former ambassadors, not a single prosecution here of those rich and powerful people who abuse these young girls. I'm going to continue to fight until we get them to face justice. Thomas and I also have been working to stop aid to Israel that committed a genocide. That has been a fight that both Thomas and I have been at the forefront of, partly because that money should be coming to places like Meadville, Pennsylvania to rebuild our communities, partly because of what happened in Gaza. 19,000 kids were killed. I was just in the West Bank, and I've been to Israel 3 times, but I was in the West Bank, and the conditions of Palestinians is awful. You have violent settlers throwing urine and acid and rotten tomatoes and metal parts at these Palestinians and at Palestinian Americans. I said, that's not America. America is a decent place. It's a welcoming place. It's a kind place, but by and large, I mean, obviously we've had our challenges with slavery and Jim Crow, but we pride ourselves on being a nation that is for a moral purpose. We defeated Nazism. We defeated communism. We've been a voice against colonization. We've been a voice for freedom. Why in the world are we supporting an occupation dehumanizing Palestinians? That's not who we are as Americans. So that is why I have stood up for ending that aid. And, I get attacked by AIPAC. They're this group that spends money, and then they put money in politics. But I'm one of the 10 members of Congress. I don't take a dime from PACs. We got to abolish super PACs. I'm tired of all this special interest money. And we need politicians who are going to actually stand up for our values. So that was my, I forget where the questioner went, but that was my answer on the question about aid to Israel. Yes, ma'am, and then we'll get both of you. And I know I spoke to you earlier, so we'll get the person in purple and then you, Darlene.
I work with children with special needs, and a lot of them will not be able to be productive members of society in the traditional way. How do we propose to help these people if they cut all the Social Security for them? How do we help them?
The question was, this lady works with young kids with special needs, and thank you for what you do. You know, my mom was a teacher's assistant for kids with special needs, so it's something that's very personal to me. And a lot of these young people are incredible. They have incredible emotional connection. They're incredible people, but they just may not be able to have the same set of jobs and the same set of independence as people who didn't have those challenges. First of all, I totally oppose what this administration is doing, where they're trying to take the protections away for people with special needs and try to institutionalize them. That would be a disaster, and we need to oppose that because people with disability and special needs have dignity. And we tried that decades ago, and we moved away from it because we understood that it's better to support people in their families, better to support people in community centers, and not to have forced institutionalization, which is what this administration wants to do. The second thing is that we need to fully fund what I said, the IDEA Act, because that would allow for counselors and teachers in our schools to actually take care of people and help educate people who are disabled and have programs. In some cases, they can join certain classes with everyone else. In some cases, they may need specialized attention. And then we need to be creative about what types of jobs they may be able to do, what they can't do, and have programs towards that. A lot of them are capable of doing things at work, at a library, at a hospital, at a community center. And some of them may not work a 40-hour week. They may work 20 hours a week. Some of them do things with technology and coding because that's something that a lot of them are good at. And maybe some of them won't be able to do any work, and that's fine. but we need to be individualized. Look at what they're capable of doing and treat them with dignity, and then support the community centers and home care that is necessary for them to live a dignified life. That to me is America as a family, and those are the policies I will be continue to fight for. I oppose it. I believe that there should be no trading of stocks with members of Congress, with senators. By the way, Donald Trump has traded more stock than the entire Congress and Senate combined. So it should apply to the president, the vice president, members of Congress, and they should be in trust. And the family, the whole thing. No one should be trading individual stocks. Yes, sir. I don't take any money from PACs. I don't take any money from lobbyists. I don't trade stocks. But the point is that it should be banned in terms of members of Congress should not be able to take any lobbyist money. I don't have a problem with someone coming and lobbying as a citizen if they're not giving you money. That's the American way. Any citizen can come. They can talk to you. They can mobilize. They can. That's their right. But they should not be able to give you money as a lobbyist. And I don't take any lobbyist money, but we should have a rule. No lobbyist money. And by the way, there should be a lifetime ban on members of Congress going and becoming lobbyists. Because what happens is members of Congress that go in, then they go in and they lobby for the companies that they're supposed to regulate. And that kind of corruption we need to go against. Yes, yes, ma'am.
You've been talking about AI, so what's your stance on that?
So, what is my stance on AI? First of all, I start with a very simple principle. Human beings over AI. You know, AI should not be allowed to just displace workers. You got all these billionaires, they're talking about, let's just take away work. I have some very concrete proposals. I would tax AI and tax the robots far more than we tax hiring human beings. We need to be for hiring people more than AI. I would give every community, like Meadville, a right against these data centers. Every community has a right to say no. You can't just put data centers across the state if a community says no. And I'm crafting a data center bill of rights about that. I would say that on our trucks, you need truck drivers. You know, this idea that we're going to have self-driving trucks. I don't know about you, but when I get on a plane, I'm glad there's a pilot. You know, we need human beings doing our work. If you want to have technology that makes it safer for human beings, that makes it easier for truck drivers, fine. But we need rules saying human beings need to be in the loop and doing those jobs. And then I have a proposal for federal jobs for young people. How many people know young folks here who are having trouble getting a good job? You know, one of my proposals is called a federal jobs program, modeled after FDR's Work Progress Administration. I want to hire young people to rebuild community. If they want to stay here in Meadville and they want to help build a new school or teach or be a counselor or help have a government become more efficient or help work with people who are disabled or underprivileged, the government should hire them for a few years to do civic service, just like we hire people into the military. And we should hire young people across this country in a federal jobs program when they're fearing that AI may take their jobs. But I am for the people, the workers, human beings over AI. And you know what? I understand these people. I know the tech billionaires. They're all in my district, and I have the knowledge and the guts to stand up to them. And we need people who are going to put the workers over the tech billionaires. Yes, ma'am. And then why don't we get one there, and then we'll come back. The gentleman with a cap. Deal with ICE? You know, I have said that that ICE has become a rogue agency that needs to be abolished, and we need a new immigration enforcement agency. That's remarkable. I'm remarkable that in the heart of Pennsylvania, in this place, we're getting that reaction to that, because it shows that this country is a fundamentally decent country. I mean, look, I said I was the son of immigrants. It's a personal issue to me. And when I grew up as a son of immigrants in Pennsylvania, in Bucks County, I never was made to feel other. You know, occasionally kids would say on a basketball court, go move back to India. But 99% of my upbringing was feeling like I belonged. I watched the same Rocky movies. I went up the steps of the art museum. I traded baseball cards. It was part of America. You know, this country is an open, decent country that has welcomed immigrants. And most people want common sense. What do they want? They want, of course, our borders to be secured. No one should just have people coming in without a secure border. That's just common sense. But they want people who are here in this country, if they've worked hard and they've lived here 10 years and they're playing by the rules, then there should be a path to citizenship for people who are contributing. And we should not have an ICE agency going and killing young fathers and killing Americans and raiding communities. They should be focused on going after criminals and sex traffickers, not people who are in a community doing things. But you know what? I'll say this too, because I think a lot of people don't understand recent immigrants or immigrant communities. You know, when I was growing up, a young person in Bucks County, my parents didn't talk very much about my rights. They talked a lot about my responsibilities. They said to me, Ro, you won the lottery. You were born American. You were born in this country. Go learn everything about this country's history. Go to City Hall. Go to the Constitutional Center. Go to Liberty Bell. My mom used to take me to this Washington Park. I heard the story so many times I couldn't believe we were having to go again. And there she'd tell her relatives visiting, you know, this is where George Washington's soldiers on Christmas night crossed the Delaware without boots to be able to free America, to turn around the Revolutionary War. She would sit on the kitchen table with note cards so I could learn every single word of the English language. That's the spirit of most immigrant families. They come with a love, a deep reverence for this nation, and they help renew the patriotism and love of this nation. And I believe we do a disservice when we say that kids of immigrants shouldn't learn about our history or shouldn't learn English. Of course they should. We need to become one country again, a more perfect union again, where we're we the people of all different backgrounds, all different faiths, united in a commitment to our Constitution, our Declaration, and our ideals. And that's the country I believe that we can become. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, let him preach. Your daughter's preaching. Let him preach.
I totally agree with you that the HHS, what the questioner said is that HHS is basically engaged in propaganda, and they're not really looking at the health of people. I mean, the idea that they are anti-science, anti-vaccines. We didn't even question it in schools. Of course you have to go to the nurse, you fill out your forms, they tell you how to get the vaccines you want, and there's a huge disinformation. They're not being honest about the statistics. And part of it is we've lost trust in our government. So people don't have trust in the government to be honest about science. And I think what we need to do is we need to be pro-science again, pro-medicine again, in terms of the basic things that have moved this country forward in having public health. But then we also need to listen to people like the MAHA movement. I sit down with them. Some of the stuff they're saying is not wrong, which is that we shouldn't have pesticides and food dye in our food, and that we should have our food not be have chemicals. So let's look at where we have some common ground and saying, yes, we need a clean food supply. We shouldn't have these chemicals, but we also want to have science in terms of vaccines and in terms of the right investment on mRNA and cancer. And we should have conversation across this country to try to build that consensus. But the one thing I think we did wrong in the previous administration that was very, very good on COVID is we weren't out there enough. You got to be out with people, go into a red district, go into areas that are Trump voters and just have a conversation. And have a conversation about why vaccines matter. And a lot of times maybe you need the local community doctors and the local leaders and the local faith leaders to have that conversation. But we need to have more conversation in this country. And we need to have more conversation without insulting each other and criticizing each other and denigrating each other and figuring out how you respect each other. You know, I had this experience where I was back in Bucks County. We were meeting my favorite social studies teacher in 10th grade. And he used to dress up as Theodore Roosevelt, and he used to come in 10th grade. He gave me a love for social studies. And I had a journalist with me, Mr. Longo. And we had this great conversation, 1 hour conversation. Mr. Longo is actually very nice. He says, yeah, Ro was one of my favorite students. He did the homework, he was smart. And this journalist at the end of this 1 hour conversation says, well, so would you vote for Ro? And Mr. Longo says, I don't know. I voted for Donald Trump twice. And I thought to myself, here's my favorite teacher who voted for Donald Trump. And that taught me that we can't just judge people in this country, the half of the country that didn't vote for the people we wanted. We got to listen. We need to treat people with respect. We need to treat people as fellow citizens of Americans, as Americans, and we need to start to find some common ground. It's the only way I know how to rebuild this country and rebuild our democracy.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
What do you think about term limits? How do we get them?
Term limits, I'm for them. And if you need any reason why you should be for them, look at Mitch McConnell. I don't wish him ill, but come on. Come on. We don't know, but you know, you can't, these jobs are not supposed to be lifetime jobs. I'm for term limits for House members, term limits for senators, and term limits for the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
18 years. We need to restore it to a citizen democracy. No kings. No kings. No kings. Well, look, the American people, all of you have been the real leaders in terms of the rallies, and that's what gives me hope. We got 2 questions there, and then I'll go there. Yes. So, I don't know if there's no reason you would know this, but Elon Musk has been threatening to sue me these days. And, you know, I've known Elon for 15 years, because he's from Silicon Valley. And, yeah, you should be. We made a big mistake. I was part of the Obama administration, and when we gave him the money to do Tesla, I was saying back then, I was a junior guy, I was in my 30s, I said, fine, give him the money to do Tesla, but insist that it be labor neutral and union. And we didn't do that. We gave him all your money. You know, Elon's not Elon because of himself. He got American tax dollar money to build Tesla, and we didn't insist on unionization. We should have insisted on unionization. Anyway, so I've known him 15 years, and he goes and supports Donald Trump. He takes a turn to the right, and then he goes to Doge. And many of us initially said, okay, Elon, you want to cut waste? Why don't you look at Medicare Advantage? That's the waste with private insurance companies ripping off the American people, pretending that people are sicker than they are and billing us. Why don't you go after the defense contractors who are ripping us off with a Pentagon budget that has ripped off Americans, charging 1,000% more for things you or I could buy at Walmart, and then they're going and paying 1,000% more for it with the defense contractors. But Elon doesn't do all of that. And so what does he do? The world's richest person takes away food and medicine from the world's poorest people. And there was a study out, Lancet, that said that 4.5 million people could die. 4.5 million kids could die because of the USAID cuts that he made. And then he starts firing veterans. Then he starts firing our veterans and our park services. And he's firing women in these roles, and a lot of black women in particular face the brunt of his cuts. It is wrong. And what I have said, why he's threatening to sue me, is I said when we take back the Congress, we need to subpoena him. He needs to come before the American people, and he needs to answer for those cuts. And we need to hold him accountable. Yes. It's a rogue Supreme Court. I call it the modern Dred Scott Court. Look, this is a court that took away women's rights. Women today have less rights than they did when I was growing up with the Dobbs decision. This is a court that took away voting rights. They have taken away the voting rights in the South that John Lewis fought for, that he was beaten on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. They have basically allowed for money in politics. They said unlimited money in politics. So we need term limits on these Supreme Court justices, 18 years and you're out. We need to expand the court from 9 justices to 13 justices, like we have 13 circuits. And we need to campaign against this court. They say you can't campaign against the court. The 2 greatest presidents in American history, Lincoln campaigned against the Dred Scott Court and FDR campaigned against the Lochner Court. We need our candidates campaigning against this John Roberts, modern day Dred Scott Court. Yes, sir. Did you have a question? No, you.
No, same one as her.
Okay, ma'am.
I have a windy voice. That's why I'm watching closer.
Good.
I would like to know about accountability for the Trump administration and the GOP on their attack on our democracy and money.
The question is about accountability. Look, I am all for a country that moves forward and reconciles, but before you can have reconciliation, we need accountability. We need to hold the people accountable who committed enormous crimes at the expense of the American people. For me, it starts with the Epstein class. We need to hold accountable the rich and powerful people, men who raped and abused our young girls. And we need an attorney general who's going to prosecute them. We need to hold accountable the people at Doge, including Musk, who made cuts to essential services for the American people without any regard for the Constitution. We need to hold accountable Trump's family, who are making billions of dollars on cryptocurrency, selling the office of the American presidency. We need to hold, huh? I don't know what he said. But we need to hold accountable the people who took us to this war in Iran on false pretenses and cost American lives and cost Americans higher gas prices and food prices. We need to hold accountable the ICE agents who shot in cold blood Alex Preddy and Renee Good and has violated the law. We cannot have a country of elite impunity. We cannot have a country where we don't have equality under the law. That was Thomas Jefferson. That was the Declaration of Independence. It did not matter if you were a billionaire or a politician or a president or whether you were a school bus driver or a janitor. Everyone in America was equal under the law, and that's not the case. And that's why we have an anger. But let me end with this, Meadville, because while I do believe that we need accountability under the law, and I've spent so much of my time in Congress fighting very powerful people standing up to the Epstein class with Thomas Massey, even at the expense of millions of dollars coming in against me and being criticized, standing up to Elon Musk, even as he threatens to sue me, standing up to tech millionaires in my district saying they should pay a 5% tax, even as they recruited a candidate to run against me. I did win, 63-6, but they did. I spent a lot of my time standing up for accountability, but accountability will not be enough to rebuild our nation. We first need accountability. We first need to make sure that people who violated these laws are prosecuted, that they are held to account. But then we need a vision. And what we need is a vision that says that this future economy that I've seen, that I have benefited from, that cannot work only for a few. That we need an economy that's going to work for Meadville and every part of this country again. That we're going to need a vision that's going to create economic independence for every family. We should not have communities where people are worried about whether they have health care or whether they can afford their drugs. We should not have communities where elementary schools are closing. We should not have communities where families are worried whether their kids are going to be able to come back here and get a good job. We are living in the richest country in the world, and yet all of the wealth and opportunity is in the hands of a few people in a few places. I believe our generation's challenge is to bring that future economic prosperity everywhere, to the places where I grew up, to the state where I grew up, but to states across this country. And when we do that, I do believe when we hold the powerful accountable under the law, when we bring a new economic vision across America, that we will become a cohesive, composite nation, what people like Frederick Douglass dreamed about, and a model and light to the world again. That's what I believe is possible. I believe in this country because I grew up in a state that believed in this country, and I appreciate all of you being out here today. I'll say hi to folks and shake some hands, but I really appreciate your participating in democracy. We need everyone here to bring change for our country. Thank you very much.
Hey, real quick, now that I got everybody here, everybody take out your phones and put this number in. 814-580-7090. That is the number to do if you spot suspected ICE activity. If you see your neighbors being taken and stolen from their homes, or if you see somebody get snatched out of a car and drugged across the street for no damn good reason, you call that number and get people there to help. You can take video of it, you can text that number, and you can also send pictures.
What's that number?
That number is 814-580-7090. That is the Rapid Response Network number, and we will come and help you. Thank you.